Samuel Leeds here, and in this video we're going to be talking about, do HMOs work up north? So stay tuned if you are interested in buying a HMO up north or if you have them. I'm with my brother, CEO and business partner, Russell Leeds. Russell, how you doing, man?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
You're a HMO king.
Thank you for saying so.
Well, what is your experience in HMOs first?
My experience in HMOs is something that I've been learning and investing in for quite a long time. I also run a HMO management company, so we manage hundreds of rooms.
And you've bought houses, HMOs, up north, in the Midlands, as both through our business and personally.
Yeah.
And you know the good, the bad, the ugly, the pitfalls, the high returns, the lot.
Yeah.
Go on then, do they work up north?
Do they work up north? Simple answer is yes, but I suppose like anything, there's going to be areas that work, going to be areas that don't work. So it's not, you know, it's a bit of a blanket statement.
What would you say to people that say, I don't want to invest in a HMO up north because I think it's too far away from home?
Well, what you always say, which I totally agree with, is if you're saying it's too far away, that means you've got a terrible plan B, because plan B means that you're planning on going and sorting it out yourself.
Yeah, no, what I say that if you're planning on buying it close to home so that you can step in, if there's a problem, that's a terrible plan A. Because that means that your plan is to step in if there's a problem. There will be a problem, which means that that's not financial freedom. It means we call that a rope around your neck. So I think that the key is to buy in an area that works and to have a good HMO manager.
Of course. So if up north works, it doesn't really matter where. It doesn't really matter where you live.
What kind of areas work really well up north or working well, do you reckon?
Working well up north, it's got to fit the rules. It's got to be in an area that's in demand. So somewhere like Hull.
Hull's good, but
really
even Hull has its parts that work and its parts that don't.
Yeah.
Has its good areas, has its bad areas. But Hull works. We've had some real success with Hull. We've had success with Liverpool.
Yeah.
We've had success with Grimsby, Bradford. Very, very much success in the Midlands, in Birmingham, Walsall.
Midlands is my actual favourite place.
Yeah, but you only say that because you've got a HMO management company in the Midlands.
Well, maybe, but
that could be partly true because you know that you're going to do everything to get the rooms let.
Yeah.
Because if we have a house up north, we do have very good power teams and HMO managers up north. But the best HMO management in the company has got to be Quick Move, which is your company, which is in the Midlands. So what are the things to look for? Because there are people that buy up north where it doesn't work. Yeah. Even properties that we've invested in, it's not working as well.
I think part of it is,
Stoke got a bit saturated when we were buying.
It did. I think part of the thing is to really do research before buying. Because, as you say, there are places, you can't just look at a place and go, Hull works. Anywhere in Hull will work. It doesn't work like that.
Even in London, it's not the case.
No.
Or Birmingham.
No. It's more the case in the bigger cities. It's more likely to work. Yeah. Because there's more demand. But I mean, if there's lots of demand in an area, but there's also lots of properties, and yours is in a bad area, they're all going to go first. Yeah. So it's important that you have a good area.
I also think you need a good product. So if you don't do the rooms to the standard that they need to be, and if you're over greedy with the price, then that's going to mean that you're going to have void periods.
Of course.
So you need to have a good product.
And the good news is that there are quite a lot that aren't done to a very high standard.
People say to me, this makes me laugh. They say, "Oh, there's more rooms available than there are people looking for rooms on spare room. Therefore, the area is oversaturated." And the people that say that are just absolute morons. Morons, because think about it. If you are looking to rent a room, what do?
You just go and look.
You go on spare room, you look at the rooms available, and then you make a phone call or drop an email, view the house, put the deposit down. That's what you do. Like, that's probably what 1 in 100 people would do.
Yeah.
What you don't do is take your phone, do a selfie, and create a profile of yourself saying, "Hey, I'm looking for a room for the record." You have to be a bit weird to do that. Right?
Yeah, totally.
So if there's more room, but
it's saying there's more products for sale on eBay than there are people looking.
But people don't create profiles of themselves saying wanted, looking for stuff on eBay. So but if you've got a room to rent out, of course you're going to create a profile. So there's always going to be more rooms available on Spare Room than there are profiles of people looking for rooms.
Of course.
You're never going to buy. You're always going to think it's oversaturated.
But I agree with you though. I think you have got to have a good product. So I would say if I was doing it, first of all, you do your research. So you're going to want to go to your area. You're going to want to have a look round, make sure it's not, horrible looking. I was talking to somebody and they said, don't be too picky just because there's, cars on bricks in the road and this sort of stuff doesn't mean it won't work. I don't agree.
Just because what?
They were like cars on bricks, with the tyres and bad things looking in the street doesn't mean it won't work.
Yeah. If the street's a dump.
But I don't agree. I think if the street's a dump, avoid it. You don't want a dumpy, in my opinion.
But saying that, at the same time, we've got some really, really profitable HMOs, and I do think people generally tend to look in the street and think, would I live here? There's a balance somewhere.
There is a balance, but...
We've got HMOs that are, in areas which are not great. Sometimes I see sofas outside other people's houses and I'm like, oh my goodness. If there's broken glass everywhere, you're in the middle of a red light district.
I think you've got to use your common sense as well. I think if you go and look at it and it looks horrible, I think that even if you fill it, you're potentially going to be filling it with people that if they don't mind living, if it's terrible.
Yeah.
I think avoid.
But I think what you've got to say is, rather than say, because again, when people say, would I live there? That's a very silly question, because you might only want to drive a Range Rover. Does that mean that Ford Focuses shouldn't exist?
Yeah.
Of course not.
Oh, no.
So, and in the same way, you've got to ask yourself, instead of saying, would I live in this street? Would I live in this room? You've got to say, if I was 20, or if I was just finishing university and getting my first job,
or maybe
would I?
Maybe who, rather than would I.
So who would live here?
Who would live in? If the answer is like prostitutes and drug dealers, then maybe.
But if the answer is, it's not an affluent area, it's close to the city centre, because where I would live wouldn't work as a HMO.
No.
So, well, actually it would at the moment because I live in Lichfield city centre, but we've just moved. We lived in a barn conversion before, beautiful, rural, affluent. But no one would want to rent a room there. It's not near anything. So you're right. You've got to ask the question: who would live here? If the answer is absolute scutters, then don't maybe buy there. But if the answer is, well, working people would live here, then fine. Because I do think this is important as well. You can't deny this. You can't deny that on Spare Room, when you're looking at rooms for rent, there usually is not a picture of the front of the house. There is not a picture of the street. There's not a street view. Why? Because people don't really care. HMO professional tenants don't care what the outside of the house looks like. No. They don't care what the street looks like.
I would care.
You would care, but you're not. But do your tenants care?
No.
They don't care. They're not coming. They're not being hospitable. They're just using this as a roof over their head to sleep. So they're not entertaining. They're not bringing people back to the house. So they don't really care what the house looks like. They don't really care what the street's like. But what they do care is if they come out of the front door in the morning, whether they get stabbed or not. So there's a limit, you don't want to be like, oh, this area is a bit rough. I wouldn't live here myself.
But typically your HMO managers in the area will A, know, and B, tell you.
It comes down to market research.
Of course it does.
You've got to just find out, is this, so what are the checklists then, so to speak? If we're buying a HMO up north, in order to say, will it work or not? I think the checklist is certainly before I buy something, or before we will let either of our sourcing companies sell a house to an investor, we always make sure that, one, they have spoken to a HMO manager who specialises in HMOs, who's given them a lowdown of the area, what works, what doesn't.
Yep.
Two, they've spoken to a HMO investor. That could be me if I've got houses in the area, but there's an investor that says, gives a lowdown of the area and what works and what doesn't. So they've got another investor to talk to.
Yeah.
And three, they've just tested it, they've Googled it, they've looked on Spare Room, because when I said about Spare Room, there's always going to be more rooms available than people looking, but at the same time, is anyone looking?
I always think it's worth putting up a dummy ad.
Yeah.
I know I've talked to you about this before.
Yeah.
But if you're really serious about going for an area, putting up a dummy ad, and then if someone applies, just have a look at one nearby and say, unfortunately, our rooms have gone.
Our room's not ready yet. Because you've got to be honest. So they rig up our room's not ready yet, but here's a room similar. Yeah, absolutely. Dummy ads work really well because if you put a dummy ad up and the phone rings like crazy. I've just had a guy who bought a house in Sheffield, and he put up a dummy ad before it completed, and he had 9 phone calls in like 3 days. So I said to him, that's going to work.
Sometimes you can be surprised.
He's just rented it out though. He rented the whole thing out, 4 beds. He bought it for £100,000. He rented the whole thing out for £1,500 a month in 3 weeks. Go on, sometimes you can be surprised.
I said sometimes you can be surprised. Someone brought us a property in West Brom, and we hadn't done one in West Bromwich before, and we were like, it's not a particularly big town. Don't know how this is going to work. We said, look, we'll do it. We haven't done West Brom before, so I can't speak from experience. We'll see how it goes. Whole thing had gone in like 3 days.
I think it was 2 days, and full whack rents, no negotiations.
Yeah, all gone. And we were turning people away left, right and centre.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
I never would have thought.
Sometimes an area can change as well. You can,
of course.
You can buy in an area.
Stoke was like that. Stoke was brilliant, and then it got oversaturated.
But now it's better than it was.
It is better than it was now.
So I started buying in Stoke about 3 years ago. I started buying HMOs in Stoke, and you could buy them for like 60, 70 grand, and you'd rent them out.
I think that's right. I used to hear everyone going, "Oh, I'm looking at Stoke."
Everyone was wanting to do Stoke because they all knew I was doing Stoke, and there was hundreds of investors that bought in Stoke, and also there was this can really change the market when a big business comes in. This has happened in Grimsby recently, and built a massive building. I think 200 odd rooms. There's a cinema in there. Every room is all en suited. They're renting them out for $350.
Makes it hard to compete. How are your rooms doing in Grimsby?
Yeah, they do. Unfortunately, I bought so cheap. Like I bought a couple for like, I think it was like 82 grand. So I'm not really going to moan too much, but a little frustrating. But you need to look at the big picture. You can always, within your portfolio of HMOs, if you buy 3 HMOs, you're probably going to have one which just storms it and is just full all the time, top rents, and you're like, oh, brilliant. You're going to have one that was okay. Maybe it's going to be full 85, 90% of the time, good tenants, it's okay.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have one which is a bit annoying, and you've always got one room that sticks, and or sometimes even worse. But overall, I think you've got to look at your portfolio as a whole.
Yeah.
I mean, Grimsby's okay. We've sold properties in Grimsby, and it kind of almost. I guess I'm pleased. But sometimes people call me and they're like, "I rented my whole house out in Grimsby, in 3 weeks. Thank you so much. It was your team." And I'm like, "Well, my rooms aren't full." So I think it was that big business that came in and some things. But you've also got to look at capital appreciation. When people are, like when that business came in, although it's a bit annoying because there's now going to be a bottleneck for the rooms, at the same time, if developers are coming in to an area, that means probably you're going to get some capital appreciation.
Yeah, because
it's like when Article 4 comes in. When Article 4 is announced, everybody starts buying in that area. And it can sometimes create a bottleneck. But that once that Article 4 is complete and it's in the area, you've got the grandfather rights.
Happened briefly in Wolverhampton.
Briefly, yeah. Then you're probably just going to go up in value. You're going to be able to put your rents up. Your competition's dead, but you're going to have a bottleneck. So I think you've got to be just realistic. I think you've got to do your market research before buying, making sure that. I also think it's really, really good, really, really important to have an exit strategy. Would the house stack up as a single let?
Yeah.
Would I be making profit if it was a single let?
I think the reason when we coming back to the original question of do HMOs work in the north, I think the reason they do work so well in the north, assuming that you tick all these boxes and do it right, is just how the north is just so cheap.
Yeah.
It's so cheap compared to the Midlands, and then the Midlands is so cheap compared to the south.
Yeah.
But
I mean, buying a house for like 70, 80, 90 grand and renting it out for 13, 14, 1,500 pounds a month.
It's just crazy, isn't it, really?
The returns, if you play your cards right, and you do your market research, or you buy from our sourcing company, they do a lot. I'm not saying they always get it right, but they do. The team spend half their time doing market research.
Yeah.
So if you're buying from a good sourcer who's done
you can get a cracking deal, not putting very much money down and getting very good returns.
I think that's another problem. I think some people setting up sourcing companies today, and then tomorrow they're sort of saying, I've got all these deals, and they're not deals. They sprinkle HMO fairy dust on the property and say it's going to be a great HMO, but actually they've not done their market research. They've not got an agent in the area that's going to be able to rent it out well. And and although it might be a cheap house, and yes, it might be able to get a good return, it's very easy to kind of fudge the numbers. Yeah. So it is important to, before you buy any house, if you're buying it through a sourcer, if you found it yourself, you want to speak to a HMO manager or speak to 2 or 3. You want to do your exit strategies and also maybe put up a dummy ad, check spare room. Do see, are there people on spare room creating profiles? If there's one person on spare room looking and there's 1,000 rooms available, then okay, fine. But don't say there's more rooms available than there are people looking, as we talked about earlier. So what are the important things would you do before buying a house in as a HMO up north?
Up north specifically?
Yeah, or just anywhere. What would you do? What would you put in place?
Well, I'd want to be looking at having a good HMO manager.
Yeah,
I think that'd be really important. I definitely would go and meet them, have a coffee with them, try and get a relationship with them, and like you say, maybe speak to a few.
I think furniture is important as well.
You need obviously your furniture. You need to decorate it. You need to be compliant. Which is again, if you want more info on that, look at the video
that we did before. Another thing you said, which was really good, really interesting, was you said you love 4-bed HMOs because you don't need to get a license.
Yeah,
and you don't need to, because if you spend a fortune on a property soundproofing and all that stuff, it's going to eat out of your return. 5 beds you're not so keen on, but you're like 6 beds. Tell us why.
Well, 4 beds are great because you don't have to have them licensed and you can save a lot of money on your compliance side.
Yeah.
5, you need all the crap that goes with it, but you're only getting 1 extra set of rent out of it. But 6 is the same as a 5 in terms of compliance and everything, but you're getting 2 lots of extra rent out of it than a 4.
Yeah, and 7, that's when you need to get planning permission. But again, if you've already got planning permission, or if you're going to have to get planning permission anyway, then why not go the full hog and get a 10-bed?
Yeah.
Great. And one of the things we're working on at the moment, we're working on quite a lot of apartment blocks, service accommodation. So we're going to be talking about that. We've got other videos on that kind of stuff. But great, thank you very much, buddy.
No problem at all.
Hope you found that helpful. So there we go. Do HMOs work in the north? Yes, but make sure you know what you're doing. If you enjoyed that video, please do share it with your fellow investors so they can be educated. And also, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already as well. See you next time. Thank you so much for watching. If you benefited from that video, please do share it with your family and friends. For more videos like it, you can watch right here. And if you'd like to spend 2 days with me at the Property Investors Crash Course, watch this video, see what happens. But whatever you do, don't forget to subscribe right here, and I'll see you next time.